Time flies. It feels like just yesterday I landed in Narita Airport and was drugged through a gauntlet of paperwork hell and stuffed like a sardine into a hotel for 2 weeks. Living a year in Japan has fundamentally changed me as a person. My outlook on life and my approach to challenges and goals has shifted dramatically. I used to be afraid of trying new things, of going into social situations, and especially of interacting with people in a different language. That has paralyzed my decision making and caused me to spin my wheels. And don't get me wrong, I'm still afraid, but I just ignore my fear and do it anyway. Everything in Japan is so much more difficult because of the language barrier and cultural differences, but now I only think that makes everything a worthy challenge. For example, I was able to drive to a mechanic shop and use my broken Japanese and my phone's voice translator to book an oil change for myself, and then I could hold a disastrous but interesting Japanese conversation with my mechanic friend. This is something that a Basan from a year ago would never have been able to do. For teaching, I've really come into my own. I have little fear or shame. I've embarrassed myself so many times in front of my students, I'm bomb-proof, and I can get away with doing hilarious and crazy things. For example, one time when we were talking about fire in class, I physically demonstrated stop, drop, and roll, rolling across the floor and yelling, "Stop, drop, and roll!" In other classes, I'll speak in a silly voice, or yell, or whisper, or make crazy gestures. It's a lot of fun. I've discovered that self-deprecating humor is a great tool. I'm blessed by the hair gods to be bald at 24, which is something I'm self-conscious about. What helps me overcome this insecurity is to laugh and joke about my baldness with students. I've come to care less about what I can't control in life, and instead focus and work hard on things I can. So, I should really be called the Bald Basan. Let's get into some recent adventures. The Kuroshio crew went on another action-packed field trip with the Rugrats, this time to Sato Umi Aquarium. By the Kami of Mercy, I managed to get a car ride instead of a bus ride and could catch some Z's instead of being cracked over the head and used like an English-Japanese dictionary. Upon arriving at the aquarium, the children wasted no time being brats and running through the whole thing in 15 minutes. Since we were scheduled to be there for 2 hours, this was a critical oversight and an unexpected development for the coordinators. The end result was that the poor aquarium gift store was invaded by the children, who looted stuffed animals and sugary treats like pirates. For my part, I stayed away from that war zone and took it slow, enjoying the varied and alien marine life. Being from Alberta, I'm not used to seeing, or eating for that matter, sea creatures. My favorite sea animal was the turtles, but I also like the otters they had. They are adorable. After the aquarium, the bus took us to a park. It has a great roller slide, a fun playground, and it did a better job of capturing the kids' attention and burning their energy than the aquarium. It was good fun sliding around with them and racing around the playground. Another great and exhausting day. Every weekend I try to go on a road trip adventure. My journeys have led me to some lesser known Japanese landmarks and some odd discoveries. For example, one day I drove out to this curious stone bridge. Apparently it's an old forestry bridge. I can't imagine carrying logs across this thing without a guardrail. I hiked a ways into the forest next to the bridge and I heard a faint tinking sound of Japanese shamisen music. I thought someone in the forest was playing a real shamisen. I followed the path further, looking for the Pied Piper, and sure enough, I stumbled across him. It was a battery-powered radio wrapped in a plastic bag, broadcasting a local radio station. It was a very surreal experience for me. If I was walking on a random path in Canada and that happened, I'd think some serial killer in the forest was waiting to murder me. But this is Japan, so strange stuff like this isn't so out of the ordinary. My second grade junior high school students made presentations about places I should go in Japan, and so like Hercules with his set of Herculean tasks, I have made it my goal to travel to each location and buy souvenirs and take pictures and bring these things back for my students. I was lucky because with Sato Umi Aquarium, I ended up just going with elementary school students, so that's an easy one off the list. The next Herculean task took me to Kochi City, where I ventured into the depths of Noichi Zoo. It was a bit of a lengthy drive, but I managed to find the place. It's kind of on the edge of the city. As to be expected from a zoo, there were some rare animals on display. My favorite was the red panda. He was having lunch when I visited him and was being extra cute. I also saw the shoebill, which is this prehistoric looking bird, but I couldn't get a good picture of him, and I have a good justification. There was a Japanese man with a fancy camera standing in front of the glass and singing to the shoebill. Although it was a little strange, it was also kind of beautiful, and I didn't want to interrupt that mystifying moment. There were also baboons, zebras, giraffes, a toucan, and other neat exotic critters. I liked the bear cat and the catfish, a lot of cat animals now that I think about it. I didn't end up eating at the zoo. The restaurant didn't really look appetizing, but I did manage to collect pens, stickers, and other treasures to bestow upon my students as rewards and prizes. I'm not sure where my next adventure will take me, but soon I'll conquer another task. After the zoo, I went to a mysterious and eerie place, Ryugado Cave. It's a well-maintained tunnel through the inside of a mountain that has illuminated and colorful pools and rock structures. There is creepy music playing, and often while hiking through the dimly lit, narrow cave, I was utterly alone. Nothing but me, alien-looking rocks, creepy music, the soft dripping of water, and my thoughts. None of those things are comforting, believe me. Outside the cave is a wide array of shops. It seems everyone there specializes in knives and swords and various other sharp implements like kunai and shurikens. I ended up talking to one of the blacksmiths and took home a $40 kitchen knife that I quite liked. It was funny because one shop was an authentic blacksmith where the master actually made his knives, and the other shops would sell cheap Chinese knockoffs. One of the blacksmiths actually told me that. I don't know if it was a sales tactic, but I had already bought a knife by that point, so it wasn't like he was going to convince me of anything. I think it was just a matter of pride. It's an interesting place and worth a visit. So now for a more serious story. Last year, one of my students stopped going to school. She said she was demotivated by her older sister, who was wildly successful, and so she decided to make excuses not to attend classes. She would say things like, "I feel sick in class," or "I'm not smart enough to do well in the future." She quit coming and was gaining weight and feeling depressed, hiding from teachers when they would come to check up on her. Recently, I started writing letters to her and sending her drawings of Pokemon or anime characters. I also made a Spotify playlist for her, and she shared some songs with me. When I was feeling defeated and worthless for my own personal reasons, she wrote to me saying that she had tried coming back to school and saw her friends in the nurse's office. She said her friends were crying and telling her that they missed her, and she was surprised because all this time she thought no one cared about her. It's so beautiful and so sad. I've cried about it too. I won't take credit for her returning to school. She decided to do that all on her own, and she has a long way to go to get her life back on track, even if she starts studying regularly. But I'd like to believe I inspired her to try. And she'll never know it, but her courage inspired me too. I've felt unwanted and worthless the last couple months, and her reacting so positively made me feel like I'm good for something. So I've been trying to do more things like that, because it's harmless and good. Sometimes that's all a person needs to turn their life around. Someone who just gives a damn. So let's all give the people in our lives a few more dams, shall we? That's all for now. Take care and be bold.